Hi everyone, please subscribe my YouTube channel. When my fiancée, Emily, shared that her parents didn't think I was worthy of her, hinting she could do better, I stayed calm and told her, "Then go for it." That night, I discreetly switched our apartment lease to her name, removed her access to my credit card, and left while she slept. A week later, her whole family showed up at my new place, begging me to rethink my decision. Heartbreak can feel oddly peaceful. No shouting, no sobbing, just a sharp, quiet resolve that takes over. I'd been with Emily for 3 years, meeting her just after college at a friend's housewarming party. She was brilliant, gorgeous, ambitious, everything I'd dreamed of. We moved in together after a year, got engaged after 2, and were knee-deep in wedding planning when it all fell apart. Looking back, the warning signs were there. Emily's parents, Charles and Margaret, were never warm toward me. They were old-money elites, private schools, vacation homes on the Cape. I grew up in a working-class family in Michigan, put myself through a state college with loans and odd jobs, and was building a career as an architect at a decent but not flashy firm. At dinners, they'd quiz me about my career goals, asking if my firm landed any big-name projects. Margaret would mention Emily's ex, now killing it at a hedge fund in New York. Charles would name-drop their friends' sons who were doctors or CEOs. I brushed it off. In-laws can be tough, I figured. Emily would nudge me under the table, grinning when her parents weren't looking. I thought we were tight. The day everything crashed was ordinary. A Wednesday in May, I got home drained from a long client pitch. Emily was at our kitchen island, staring at her tablet. "Hey," I said, tossing my keys into the bowl by the door. "How's your day going?" She didn't answer right away, which wasn't like her. Emily was always talkative about her job, her friends, or some random thing she'd seen online. The silence was my first clue something was wrong. "I had lunch with my parents," she said finally, eyes fixed on her screen. "How are Charles and Margaret?" I asked, keeping it light as I grabbed a soda from the fridge. "They're concerned about us," she replied. I paused, halfway to my mouth. "Concerned how?" "About the wedding, about whether you're the right match for me." I set the soda down unopened. "And what do you think? They just want what's best for me." "That's not what I asked," she sighed, closing her tablet. "They brought up some points I hadn't thought about, like how your job doesn't have the same growth potential as, say, finance or law. How we won't live the life I grew up with. How our worlds are so different. We've known that from the start," I said, my voice even despite the knot in my chest. "It never seemed to bother you before." "It didn't, but looking at the long-haul kids, the future, I don't know. They made some good arguments, like how you're content with where you are. You don't talk about making partner or starting your own firm. You're okay with being average." That hit hard. I'd never claimed to be a hotshot, but I worked hard and took pride in my designs. I wasn't changing the world, but I was building a solid career doing what I loved. "What are you saying, Emily?" She twisted her engagement ring, the one I'd saved 6 months for, the one her mom called sweet with a faint smirk. "My parents don't think you're right for me," she said finally. "They think I can do better." The room felt like it tilted, like a foundation shifting after a quake. 3 years, a year engaged, countless promises, all boiled down to her parents' verdict. "And what do you think?" I asked again, voice low. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "I think they might have a point." In a movie, I'd have pleaded, reminded her of our love, sworn to prove myself, but a cold clarity washed over me. "Then go for it," I said simply. "Do what? Find someone better if that's what you and your parents believe." She looked shocked, like she'd expected me to argue or break down. "Ryan, I'm not saying we're done. I'm just unsure. Unsure if I'm good enough because your parents said so. It's more complicated than that." "Is it? Seems pretty clear to me." I walked past her to our bedroom, her stunned expression following me. I took a shower, the hot water sharpening my thoughts as I planned my next moves. By the time I was done, I had a strategy. Emily was in bed when I came out, scrolling her phone like it was any other night. "Can we talk tomorrow?" she asked, glancing up. "I'm wiped and we need to sleep on this." "Sure," I said, sliding into bed. "Tomorrow." I waited until her breathing steadied around 1 a.m. Then I got up, grabbed my pre-packed gym bag from the closet, and got to work. I logged into our apartment's online portal. The lease was in my name since my credit was stronger when we signed. I submitted a request to transfer it to Emily alone, noting she'd need to sign and the landlord would have to approve. Our landlord, Mr. Thompson, was a decent guy and liked me. I was confident he'd help Emily sort it out if she stayed. Next, I went to my bank's website. Emily was an authorized user on my credit card for shared expenses, though we mostly kept our money separate. I removed her access and ordered a new card. I listed utilities and subscriptions in my name. electric, internet, streaming, to either transfer or cancel after notifying her. I wrote a brief note saying I was leaving, had started the lease transfer, and would pick up my stuff later. I added that she had a month to decide on the apartment, and I'd cover utilities until she took over. I left the note and my key on the counter and walked out. I texted my buddy Jake earlier while Emily was in the bathroom asking to crash at his place. He said yes without hesitation, a real friend. When I got to his apartment at 2 a.m., he answered the door half asleep but worried. "You okay, man?" "Not really," I admitted, "but I will be." Over beers on his couch, I told him everything. Jake didn't push me to go back or fix things. "Her loss," he said, clinking his bottle against mine. "Stay as long as you need." The next morning, my phone was blowing up. Calls, texts, voicemails from Emily, each more frantic than the last. "Where are you? Call me back, you just left. The landlord mentioned a lease transfer. I can't afford this place on my own. You canceled the card. How am I supposed to buy groceries?" That last one was ironic. Despite her family's wealth, Emily prided herself on being independent, living off her entry-level marketing salary while her parents covered her student loans, car, and kept a fat emergency fund she rarely touched. Now that pride left her in a bind. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my boss, took a few personal days, and started looking for a new place. Within a week, I found a modest one-bedroom across town, affordable with my recent project bonuses. Emily's messages kept coming, shifting from anger to pleading. "Please talk to me. We can work this out. I didn't mean it. I was just stressed about the wedding. My parents were wrong." On day 5, I sent one reply. "I'll grab my stuff next week. Utilities are covered until the end of the month. Let me know when you're not home so I can move out." Her response was immediate. "Please don't. I love you." Too late. On day 6, Charles, Emily's dad, called. I almost ignored it but picked up out of curiosity. "Ryan," he said, his usual smug tone softened. "We need to talk." "I don't think so, Charles. Please. Emily's a wreck." "That's not my problem anymore," he sighed. "I may have said things I shouldn't have." "You don't say," he asked to meet. Against my better judgment, I agreed to coffee the next day, curious to hear him out. At the cafe, I was floored to see not just Charles, but Margaret, Emily, and her younger brother, a full-on family intervention. "What's this?" I asked, standing by their table. "Please sit," Margaret said, her usual polish fraying. "We need to talk." I sat, keeping my distance from Emily. Her eyes were red, her usual put-together look disheveled. Charles spoke first. "Ryan, I owe you an apology. What I said about you was wrong." "You think?" "Yes," he continued. "This week has shown us you're better for Emily than we realized." "How so?" Margaret jumped in. "Emily's falling apart. She's not eating, not sleeping." "She loves you." I glanced at Emily, tears streaming down her face. "And," Charles added, looking uneasy, "Emily wasn't fully honest about your career." Her brother piped up. "I'm kind of an architecture nerd. I looked you up. You worked on the Hamilton Plaza. That's a big deal. And you're leading the new riverfront project. Dude, that's awesome." I shrugged. "I've been doing all right." "Why didn't you tell us?" Margaret asked. "Because it shouldn't matter," I said. "I'm an architect because I love it, not to impress my fiancée's parents." Charles looked humbled. "We misjudged you and shouldn't have put doubts in Emily's head." "You didn't put anything there she didn't let grow," I said. "She's an adult who made her choice." "I made the wrong choice," Emily said, voice breaking. "I was dumb, insecure, and let them get to me. I've regretted it every second since you left." "We're here," Charles said, "to ask you to give her another chance." I looked at this family, who deemed me unworthy and were now backpedaling. "Why the sudden change, Charles? Because I might actually be successful?" "No," he said, though his eyes darted away. "Because I've never seen my daughter this broken. Whatever you think of me, I love her." The truth was, I'd never bragged about my career to Emily or her parents, not out of secrecy, but because I didn't tie my worth to trophies. The Riverfront project was a big win, one I'd poured late nights into, but Emily was caught up in her marketing world, and I was happy to listen rather than boast. "Please, Ryan." Emily reached for my hand. I pulled back. "I was wrong. I love you, not what you do or earn. But you didn't stand up for me," I said quietly. "When they said I wasn't enough, you agreed." I was scared, stressed about the wedding, doubting myself. "It wasn't about you, and you only reached out when you realized I'd transferred the lease and cut the card." "That just showed me how much I depend on you," she said. "How much I need you." "I don't want to be needed," I said. "I want to be chosen." I stood. "You chose your parents' opinion over me." "Ryan," Margaret cut in, "people make mistakes. Emily screwed up. We screwed up. Doesn't that deserve a second chance?" I looked at them, this family scrambling to clean up their mess, and felt nothing. That cold clarity stayed strong. I wish you all the best, I said, turning to leave. Wait, Emily stood, drawing looks from other customers. I'll do anything. I'll move into your new place. I'll pay my share. I'll cut off my parents if I have to. Her parents' alarmed faces showed their sincerity was shaky. It's not about that, I told her. It's about you showing me who you are, someone who values status and others' opinions over loyalty and love. I see you now. I walked away, ignoring her calls. That was 6 months ago. I haven't spoken to Emily since, though she still texts occasionally. Her parents sent a high-end bourbon with an apology note, which I regifted for Jake's birthday. The riverfront project I designed opened last month to strong reviews. My firm promoted me to junior partner with a nice raise. I bought a small condo in the building I designed. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh, too unwilling to forgive. But then I remember how quickly she doubted me, how easily she echoed her parents' judgment of my worth. Some wounds cut too deep to heal. The right person won't need convincing you're enough. They'll know it and stand by it, even against their own family. I'm still looking for that person, but now I know what I deserve and what I won't settle for.